Beautiful people of YouTube, thank you for joining me. And I wanted to talk to you today about a book that changed my life, literally. And unfortunately, I don't have a copy of the book to hold up like I normally do, because every time I get a copy of the book, I tend to loan it out to somebody to read and they never give it back. So I'm currently between copies. And the book that I'm referring to is On the Road by Jack Kerouac, published in 1957. And it was hailed, and let me just read a couple of reviews or highlighted points about the book. The New York Times hailed the book's appearance as the most beautifully executed, the clearest and the most important utterance yet made by the generation Kerouac himself named years ago as Beat, and of course who he is the principal avatar of. And the Modern Library ranked On the Road as 55th in the 100 best English language novels of the 20th century. And when I first read Jack Kerouac's On the Road, I think I was 22 years old, 23 years old maybe. And for those of you that don't know, the book is very autobiographical. It is Kerouac and his friends, Kerouac being the main protagonist in the book under a alter ego. And it's a book essentially about traveling back and forth between the East Coast and the West Coast of the United States, with very little money, drinking alcohol, taking drugs, writing, and just trying to survive and have the best adventure that you can possibly have. And at the time when I read it, of course, having a love of literature and having a love of literature that is slightly different, and having a fascination with the United States at the time, and having a fascination with travel, this book just really hit the spot for me, and it inspired me quite significantly. And just a few years later, I sold everything that I had. I quit my job. I didn't have much money from the things that I sold because I didn't really own many things. I had a guitar and a few other things. But with that money, I flew to the United States. I had met a family who offered me a seasonal visa to work in their little company that they had. They were very kind to me, gave me a place to live and gave me some money for the work that I did for them. That was in Oklahoma. But I originally flew into Philadelphia and met them in Philadelphia. And they had suggested that we fly from Philadelphia back to Oklahoma and begin working and whatever. But inspired by Jack Kerouac's On the Road, I told them that I would meet them in Oklahoma. And what I did was I took the Greyhound bus, thinking that I was being very adventurous and thinking, no, not to worry, it's just going to be like a European bus where I can, sit in comfort and travel through these cities and see some beautiful scenery. Well, in the United States, the Greyhound bus doesn't always quite work out that way, and it was a very entertaining experience, you can say that, and it was a little bit frightening at times, but I lived the experience. I made it from Philadelphia to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then spent some time working there. Read many books that I will talk about later while I was in Oklahoma. I had some time because the job was more or less part-time. We did bits and pieces of work here and there, and I was mowing people's lawns and doing some gardening and trying to fix people's computers here and there. But I put together enough money to buy another ticket, and I flew across to California and spent a little bit of time in San Diego, which became one of my favorite places on the planet. Didn't have enough money to get back, and I had to make it back to the UK eventually. I took buses and trains to get to certain places along the way, got some lifts from people, and had some return tickets, so I was able to fly part of the way and eventually made it back to the UK. But all of that just to tell you that it was essentially inspired, all of those decisions, from quitting my job to selling all of my goods to buying a ticket to traveling on the bus, were all inspired deeply by reading On the Road by Jack Kerouac, and it remains to this day one of my favorite books, and I pretty much have everything that Jack Kerouac has written, although I would say that probably his other works are not as accessible as On the Road is, and certainly for me not as inspirational. And I hope that you will find the time to read the book, leave your comments, and let me know what impact it had on your life.